You just have to show up and be you and not get too caught up in the comparison game. I think it's important to be aware of what's out there, and you can learn a lot from these brands that have done really, really well. It's never a desire on my part, or I don't think it should be the desire of anyone to try to copy or emulate them, but you can learn from them. There's so many strengths from a lot of these brands that we can learn from in terms of all the things that they do to create their success.
So hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the next episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast. This is Jenae. She's the chief visionary and owner of skincare brand ARCONA. Welcome, Jenae.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on here. As you know, Jenae and I have worked together, I think it was for 2 or 3 years together, and I'm a huge fan of the ARCONA brand. I absolutely adore and love their products. And of course, I love Jenae. She is just such a kind spirit and also a visionary. So welcome. And also, she's a licensed esthetician trained in Paris. She ended up continuing her studies in chemistry and herbology and acupressure and alternative medicine modalities. She also worked directly with a dermatologist where she learned how to perform chemical peels, microdermabrasion, and pre and post-op skincare. And then, now she runs ARCONA, which, by the way, ARCONA has won 2 Allure Magazine awards for Editor's Choice and the Best in Beauty for Cranberry Gommage and Wine Hydrating Mask, which I absolutely love. The brand has also won awards from New Beauty Magazine for their solution pads. They've been featured in magazines like Vanity Fair, Glamour, Cosmopolitan, Vogue, InStyle, amongst many, many more. And they can count numerous celebrities as their clients, as Cillian Murphy, Diane Lane, Julia Roberts, Kate Beckinsale, Zoe Kravitz, Jenny Garth, Regina King, Colin Farrell, Kristen Wiig, Mandy Moore, Sarah Michelle Gellar. I mean, the list just goes on and on. I think you work with all the celebrities, which is just amazing. So welcome, Jenae.
Thank you. Thank you for such a nice warm welcome.
Yes. And I would love to get right into it. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to, ultimately you purchased this brand, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what led to that?
Yes. Well, my passion, my love for skincare started very early in my life. I was very fortunate that I was directed by a school counselor to go to an esthetician program because they talk so much about skin, and I was so interested in skin health and ingredients, and I would talk to her about that. And so I went to esthetician school, and though I ultimately graduated from the program and went to college, I really just pursued the skincare industry as a career because it just came very natural for me. And it was something I was just very interested in. And still to this day, I feel incredibly grateful and fortunate to do something that not only is a passion, but I have a talent for, and that, has brought me a lot of satisfaction and joy in my life.
And how did you end up, working with ARCONA and ultimately becoming the owner?
Well, her and I actually joined forces from a business respect. But I came to work for her initially as an account executive. Prior to that, even though I worked in the skincare industry, I worked as an account executive for another skincare company. So I had a lot of contacts. And so I really loved what she had created. And I think she understood that I was really passionate about what she had created.
The former founder.
Yes.
And what's her name, by the way?
Her name actually was ARCONA, and she was my mentor. And so she trained me on her method, and we joined forces from a business sense. And we went on this incredible journey together. And I just felt very, very fortunate. But I think a lot of it had to do with, obviously good timing and the good fortune of meeting somebody that we just had a really great connection on a personal and professional level. But it also, I think, the importance of having a mentor is so important at every stage of your career, is to work alongside people and learn from them, and just to always keep an open mind and heart to learning, because there's always something that someone has to bring to the table that, their strengths and are oftentimes very different than our own. And so I was very, very passionate about working with her, and she was a great friend. And I was very fortunate.
And so, tell me a little bit more about, once you became the owner of Arcana, what did that look like? What did that feel like? Like, bring me back to that moment. You're day one, and you're like, what do I do?
Well, yeah, her and I had actually partnered before. Sadly, she had passed away in 2004, but her and I had partnered. So we brought our different strengths to the table, and I was really, I started working with clients at the studio doing facial treatments, in addition to, working as an account executive, basically. Reaching out and bringing the brand into different spas and resorts and private retailers to bring in and carry the brand. We have both a professional grade line as well as a retail line. So there was a lot to talk about. And I think because there were so many celebrity clients that really helped, to get our foot into the door, at least get someone's attention. And to answer your question, at times I think it was stressful because she was such a powerhouse, and she was incredible at what she did, and I knew my desire was not to step in and try to fill those shoes, but just to lead in a way that I knew how to do to the best of my abilities, and to bring my own energy and my own abilities and talent to the table, opposed to trying to fill this incredible void that happened because she was so incredible at what she did. But at the same time, she always gave me a lot of confidence. She really believed in me, and she understood my strengths, and was very supportive of that. So I never felt like I was underneath her, but even though I was, I still really felt like it was a genuine partnership that we had. She was really, really supportive in that sense. And I think what an incredible gift to be able to give someone else is your belief in them, and sharing your talents, and this incredible sculpting facial massage that she created, yeah, which is our the signature facial contouring that we still do to this day, that
Tell us
people
more about
enjoy.
that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's a deep facial massage, which includes lymphatic drainage, and we also incorporate acupressure. And it's just feels not only incredible, but it really makes beautiful results. So it gets a lot of the stagnation and puffiness out of the face, and just makes the face look more contoured and more sculpted, and people just look really refreshed and revived, and they look fantastic. So.
I love that. And would you say that that's part of the reason that is what has drawn in a lot of the celebrity clientele that you currently have?
Absolutely. It was really a germ of an idea. She really started just with that. Arcana, my mentor, she started in partner. She started with the signature facial contouring. And then from there, we built into creating the products. But the products were really an extension of these incredible, in studio facial treatments that we offered. And we wanted to be able to provide at home care that would really address so many concerns that people have with their skin.
I have so many follow up questions, but I'd love to know, because you mentioned the product line. So, what is your process for developing new skincare products? Like, and how do you maybe incorporate the latest technologies or discoveries into your formulations?
Well, it's working alongside people that have an incredible understanding of skin health and ingredients and chemistry. And what I mean by that is working alongside the very best chemists that have an incredible understanding of how all these things are put together. Because you can come with a concept or an idea, but you have to make sure that it can all be put together, that it's actually going to um, deliver results. And at the end of the day, I think as consumers, we all really want to use things that are going to address and target the concerns that we have with our skin. And so when we begin the process of developing a product, it's really making sure it's filling a void within the range, or the skincare brand, and also keeping in mind not to try to hop on every single trend that's out there, or trying to be everything to everybody, and not losing sight of who you really are and what your concepts and theories of skincare are, and skin health. And so our goal.
I want to put a pin in that because I think that what you just shared is so important for our listeners, which is don't just jump on a trend because there's a trend happening. Like really figure out what's a void in for your line and what is really necessary, not just that, oh, this is trending, let's add another product because it's.
Well, I think each time you're adding another product, it's a tremendous amount of money and development and time and that goes into it. And so you hope for the very best and you hope that it people respond really well to it. But at the same time, it's making sure that it's really filling a need within your skincare and really what the customer is telling you. So that's really where I think a lot of the communication lies and the outreach and you know trying your very best to be objective and hearing what people are saying and asking for. That
And
also really helps
asking
in that.
for.
Yes.
Yes,
And
I
then,
love that.
keeping up to date with what's going on in the industry and the new developments and new ingredients and new ways in which to deliver those ingredients into the skin really are quite valuable as well.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. It's always looking at, especially as a brand, you know, is no longer new, right? You can't just rest on your laurels. You do want to, come out with more new and innovative products like you have. So let me actually ask you, like going back to those early days of Arcana for you, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced and, what how did you overcome them?
Well, I think some of the challenge that came up, obviously, it takes a tremendous amount of money and resources to be able to develop and get your brand out there in a much larger way, right? In terms of distribution, in terms of travel, in terms of the cost of packaging, all of these things tie into um, challenges. Because it's just not as simple as making an appointment and here's my brand and it's so great, bring it all in. It takes a tremendous amount of effort and resources to be able to build and develop your brand in any retailer, whether it's a private account or a major company, because it's not as simple as them just placing an order and they sell it all for you. It's just not that simple. It packaging. Sampling deluxe samples, gift with purchases, education, the team, travel, and then it cost a lot to do to build your business, and so those were obviously challenges that we faced. But I think a lot of our success came from our work ethic, our desire to really develop products that really were very results oriented and that were efficacious, obviously, and that I think our passion and our love for what we were creating or what we were doing, I think it resonated with people. And so it wasn't trying to be everything to everybody all at once or at all. It was just about slowly developing the brand and getting it into the hands of people. That hopefully would love it and be able to carry the torch for you, because at some point you're turning your baby over to whoever's carrying your brand, and so you want to align yourself with people that are hopefully as passionate and excited by it as you.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, how, you do need those financial resources to fund a business. And Arcana is self-funded. You've never, you've taken any VC investment. So as you kind of look back at those early stages, what support did you have to fund the business?
Um, it was really largely the funding really just came from opening up accounts, servicing those accounts, building and growing and supporting them as much as we could. And through sampling and we were fortunate because we had a lot of celebrity clients that come to our studio for facials and have for many years. That certainly helped to get it in front of people or sparked interest in with certain, editorial magazines and entertainment shows and things like that were interested. So we were able to tie in, our brand at Oscar time or Golden Globes or the Emmys or the Grammys. So, in that sense, we were very fortunate.
Yes. Actually, how did you get you may not know this or you may, but how did you get that first celebrity client?
Me personally, actually, my very first celebrity client, and she's still a client to this day, who I just adore, is Diane Lane. And Arcana wasn't actually available to work with her, and so she asked if I would work with her, and that's an example of the kindness that she extended to me and the belief that she had in me, because not everybody is going to turn over a celebrity client to you, right? But she knew I would take really good care of her and give her the very best possible treatment. And when I trained actually with Arcana, I trained on her face for weeks in her apartment. She would have me over for dinner, and she was just so lovely. And so the beauty behind that was that she had no reservations in letting me know that I was doing something wrong or I was doing something right. So I feel very fortunate that I got to practice on her face. So I knew I was doing it as perfect as I could. And so, long story short, she sent Diane Lane to me, and it just kind of continued to grow and evolve from there. And she was just as lovely as you can imagine her being, as she is when you see her in interviews and films and all.
What a cool story, and your training and how you got better and better, and how that kind of evolved. Do you know by chance how Arcana ended up getting that first celebrity client?
I do actually. It was totally through word of mouth. She started literally in her apartment. It was a germ of an idea. It was something that she really believed in and wanted to offer this treatment. And so she started with her treatment at her little modest apartment in North Hollywood, and one person after another, just the word kind of got out. But she was very unique and incredibly talented at what she did. And what was so, I think she was kind of a rebel, and she just kind of did things her way, and she didn't fall or buy in too much to believing that she had to do things exactly this way, or you have to look or dress or be this way, or you have to go to these parties. She kind of wanted the party to come to her, and it kind of worked. It wasn't even, it wasn't, yeah, and it wasn't even intentional. I think it was her passion and her talent. And I remember when I met her, and I had tried a few of the products that she had created before I came on board. And I was just so blown away by the quality and the results. And I think she just sensed that it was in a very authentic kind of exchange and um, uh, respect that I had for her. I mean, and she was amazing. Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. I love that. And I love that, it sounds like she was a bit of ahead of her time. It's interesting because we've been hearing a lot about, passion recently and conversations that I've been having, and drumming to your own beat or beating to your own drum. And it's just you're repeating that just brings that to light even more for our audience.
I think, passion is really key, but it's also talent. It's understanding what your strengths are, because I can be really passionate about something, but not be really great at it. And so I think where it's very helpful in this process of being an entrepreneur and growing and evolving your business is knowing to surround yourself with people that are really strong and competent and capable in ways that you aren't. And that because the truth is just, it really does take a village. It really takes a huge team of people, even if that team is only 5 people. It does require a lot of hands and energy and time, because you just can't do it all, no matter how much you try.
I love that you touched on that, Jenae, because I think a lot of founders struggle with bringing on that first team member. It's so daunting, and they just want to do it themselves for whatever reason, whether it be financial, whether it be control, whatever the reason is. Can you walk us through how did you team build when you made that first hire, or second or third? Like, what prompted that decision to hire that person? And what was sort of your process around that?
Well, I think for me personally, I think it's really listening to your instincts and your gut with people, because obviously some people are very, very good at interviewing. And then later on, as you get to know them, they don't really evolve into what you hoped or believed that they would. So I think it's listening to your gut and understanding really what your needs are. And I think it's also relinquishing control, because the reality is that some people just come with an understanding of how to do certain aspects in a business or for a business that you will never hone or have or develop, or you just don't have. There's only so many hours in the day and in the week that to do everything. And so it was really just about filling space and need in our company as we went along. And as a smaller company, it's finding people that are as equally passionate and excited about what they're doing, and running with that and building and supporting that.
I love what you said, though. It's like hiring people who have an expertise in something, so you can start to offload the things that you might be not great at, but also good at. But it really takes up space for what you're great at. I love that you touch on that.
And I think some of the best leaders are people that don't micromanage people, that allow the people enough autonomy. Obviously you're in communication, you're reporting to one another, because it really is a team effort, no matter what your title is. I mean, people that work alongside you and with you, contribute so much. And I think sometimes people who are over managing, they lose out.
Absolutely, because you're also not allowing those team members to tap into their own creativity and to problem solve for themselves and for the company. So you're just doing more work, like watching over them like a hawk, instead of what the intention was of hiring that person, which is to step away from doing that thing or that project or that task.
And I think it's that communication and really having roundtable discussions, whether it's just a one-on-one or it's several people on the team together, to find out what they think is working and how things can be done more efficiently or more smoothly, or I guess that's the same thing, but you get my point. Just ways in which the business can thrive and be more successful. And I think sometimes that can be intimidating when you're working for someone. So I really like people to feel free to be able to communicate and share, because you often learn a lot about things that maybe can be done better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. 100%. And let me ask you, for those people who are in our audience who may have not made that first hire, but they know they need to, but they're scared to do it because it is a huge financial leap, what would you say to them?
I mean, certainly talk with your accountant or look at your finances and make sure it makes sense to do that. Maybe you start slow, or maybe they come in more on a part-time basis until you're able to have them on a full-time basis. But if there really is a need, I am confident that, that will benefit you by taking the leap and just being open to having somebody to help you to take your business to yet at the next level.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about, how much of customer feedback in your product development process, how important is it? And can you share maybe an example of a customer input for that had influenced the product?
Can you repeat the last part of what you said? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, sure. So how much of a customer's input ultimately had influenced you to create a product?
Well, I think it's really, really key, and it's very important, because your customers, it only takes one to really be able to share it with so many people. If they love something that you created or something you represent in terms of the brand philosophy. So I think the communication and feedback from customers is really important. In hearing what it is that they really are concerned with and what needs a product will hopefully address for them. And so doing that outreach, I think, is really important. And then a lot of times, people will give that feedback through email correspondence to you, or comments, or feedback. I think it's really important to ask those questions and be prepared to not always get the answer that you want. Do you like this product? And sometimes people will say, these are the things I love about it, or these are the things I dislike about it. And I think you have to just be prepared to hear both the good and the bad. But the bad is actually a gift in a way, because then it says, oh, okay, so this is maybe the scent profile, or maybe the texture, or the dry down, or the way it foams or doesn't foam. It's good to get that feedback, even with something that is already up and running. I think it's always important to have that communication, and so that outreach to your customers is important.
Absolutely. And even like, for example, with brands that have been around for a long time, I've been seeing with some of our brands that are, a decade old or 15 years old or more, their customers aging up as well with them. And so as a result, there's products that may have, had a big impact on the bottom line, at an earlier stage, but may not be selling as well anymore just because the customer has evolved and they've grown up. And so that's when you start to introduce new products, right? That may be more aligned with them.
And it's a great opportunity with your social media to be able to, share the different textures, or the different benefits of each. Say, for example, in the category of moisturizers, maybe when they were in their early 20s, or maybe when they had oilier, more problematic skin, they preferred a very light sheer, oil-free kind of moisturizer. But as they've gotten older and their skin has gotten clearer, or whatever the concerns are, it's an opportunity to be able to share what differentiates the different moisturizers, not only just the key ingredients, but the features, the benefits, and what skin type and groups of people would most benefit from those products. So it's always a great opportunity. And that's obviously we know so much about social media now, but there's so much opportunity with that to really connect with your audience and your customers, and educate them. I think education is really key. And I think the better you are at that, the more confidence you build with your customers, and they have faith that they're making the right decisions, because it's a very, very overwhelming landscape that we're all in this industry. We see all the pretty packaging and we get excited, and the influencers and movie stars and all this, but at the end of the day, and it's very overwhelming because there's so much to pick from. And I think the customers also feel very overwhelmed, and one person saying cleanse this way and the other person's saying cleanse that way. So it can get very kind of convoluted and confusing for our customers. But I think that you just have to, one, really know what you're talking about, really understand the ingredients, understand your customers and what their concerns and needs are. And,
I know one thing, like to piggyback off of what you just shared, one thing that always stood out to me is when you said to me, our customers will try other brands and they'll try other products, but they always come back to ARCONA. They realize like the grass isn't greener on the other side. So can you shed some light on that?
Well, I think it's a huge compliment when that actually happens, because the truth is it's overwhelming, but it's also very exciting. I mean, there are so many brands and so many products and so many things that are out there. And so I think it's very easy to get seduced as a consumer, because we all are consumers at the end of the day, no matter what skincare brand or beauty brand you have. So I think sometimes people get dissuaded, or they get sold on something and they try it out. And at the end of the day, the incredible compliment that we have received, as you shared, is the loyalty that people have had to our brand, and the word of mouth. And I think a lot of the respect and regard that we've gotten in the industry, even if we're not a household name. I love that feedback when people say, I tried this product and it just doesn't at all compare to your brand. And sometimes it's extremely flattering. And it's just it helps to reassure that all the energy and kind of the blood, sweat, and tears and effort and time and money that you put into creating something, paid off. And so, yeah, it's a huge compliment.
And can you give us, kind of going back to, taking in customer feedback, like, can you give us an example of a product that you more recently formulated that was as a result of like a customer asking for it, or that there was a white space that you were seeing in the line, or some feedback there was multiple people saying that we really want this?
Well, it's interesting. It's a really great question you're asking. It's kind of a twofold answer. I thought a lot about purification and detoxificating mask, and how often I like the whole concept and theory behind them, especially as an esthetician. And I still practice and I still do a ton of clients, as you know. So it's not something that I did in the past. I still do it and I really love it. But I always noticed when I would use more clay-based mask as an esthetician, either on myself or on clients, is that oftentimes when you would remove it, the skin would often feel very tight and kind of stripped and depleted. And so what I really sought out to do is to create, we have a mask called Magic Black Ice Mask, and it's a charcoal and French clay based mask, but I wanted it to have all the benefits of that. To purify the skin, to refine the texture and look of the skin, exfoliate without being aggressive, flatten out breakouts, but not strip or dry the skin. And I remember a client talking about how often she had a similar kind of idea, the way she communicated it to me about a lot of masks that she used. She felt like she would use them, and she liked the idea behind it, but she always felt very dry or dehydrated after. And so, and that was just feedback not only from her, but a few clients that talked to, when we'd ask them about masks, what they liked about them, what they didn't like about them, what they would like to see different about them. And so we sought out to create this product, and it contains mandelic acid, French clay, charcoal. So it's very purifying and detoxifying, and gently exfoliates the skin and brightens it, but it doesn't leave the skin stripped or dried.
I love that. Yes, that's a great example. And obviously, I agree. I feel like a lot of masks on the market are very drying. Like I love the wine hydrating mask because it really just like dry, like it's like juice or like water for your skin.
Yes. I think replenishing and hydrating and just, really restoring the skin is really key. I mean, and that's the goal here at Arcona, is to create products that are really going to bring the skin into homeostasis and make it function at its most optimum level, and make the skin really beautiful and healthy and strong.
Absolutely. So pivoting a little bit, tell me a little bit more. I mean, Arcona is in hundreds of doors and also in Nordstrom's. Can you tell us a little bit more about getting your products into a major retail store and what that looked like?
I had a very good friend who worked with me for many years, and now she's a full-time mom and a huge skincare lover as well. And she worked as an account executive with my company at the time. And she worked with us for many years. My point in telling you the story behind it is, unbeknownst to me, she had done some outreach to Nordstrom. And
how funny.
Yeah, and at that time, there was a buying office in Southern California, and she dropped the products off, and met briefly with, I think she was an assistant to the buyer, and it was kind of left there. And the buyer reviewed the brand, and asked her assistant to try the product out. So my point in sharing this is, you just never know um, who's going to try something. The point is that the assistant tried the product and gave her feedback, because the reality is that as a buyer of a store like Nordstrom, I mean, you can only imagine just the endless volume of products that are sent to them. They just can't use everything or try everything themselves. And so she had her colleague try it, and she raved about it to her. And I received a call that the buyer was interested in coming and having a facial treatment with me. And I don't really get nervous, but I was a little nervous. But I thought, I'm just going to do what I know and what I love and what I'm passionate about here. And I gave the very best treatment I could give her. And she had some questions. And we started very small. And that was a gift to us, because as a small brand, and still a small brand, it was a wonderful process of building, because they wanted to obviously be assured that you would do well and could, they're huge, and they have a lot of distribution, and they have online, and they have a lot of doors. And so I think it was a wonderful gift to be provided that opportunity to go in and not try to be in all the doors at the starting line, that we just started small. And we're still in Nordstrom, and we do really, really well. And they've just been one of the best to work with. They're just incredible partners.
You've been partnered with them for over 10 years, right?
Yes, yes.
Like that's very rare nowadays for a brand. I'm just gonna like celebrate you here for a second. Like a brand that is self-funded, that nowadays indie brands come in, they were on the shelves, and then 3 months later, 4 months later, they're off the shelves. And here you are, self-funded, small team, and you're in Nordstrom's really, like, I think all the doors now, right?
We're in a lot of the doors, and they have been so supportive, and they're amazing to work with. And, I feel very, very honored, and it's a real privilege to work with them. And I just love their whole concept of taking care of the customer. And that's key. Customer service is so important, and really being able to educate your customers and do amazing events. And they always have a lot of excitement and fun things going on, not only in store, but also online. So they keep it really fresh and fun. And they're always very ahead of it. They're just a great department store.
And what can you tell us a little bit more about what does it look like to be partnered with the Nordstroms for our listeners who may either not have a big box retailer, maybe they want to get into one. Maybe Nordstrom's is a dream retailer for them. What does it look like to be partnered with them?
Well, I feel incredibly honored, as I shared. I mean, they're amazing at what they do, and they really care, and they come alongside you and really support you. But I think, like any environment that you go in where someone is going to carry your brand and carry the torch for you, it does require your support, your time, and your willingness to build your business within their business. Because
can you tell us more?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of in-store events, facial events, a lot of education. When the opportunity has arisen, we've been a part of their trend shows. So a lot of sampling, a lot of outreach, just helping to build the customer base, and, just going above and beyond to give the best experience we can give when we're in store. So I think it's understanding that when you align yourself with Nordstrom or any store, it does require, energy and a lot of effort and time on your side as a brand and as a company to go in and help build your business.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned some really great things that I wanted to point out, which is, start small, right? Don't go into all the retailers or all the doors, go into a small set of doors, and, make sure you're working with them as a partner for the marketing opportunities, the sampling opportunities to the best of your ability. And one thing that I think is, if I'm willing to, if it's okay to share, is that like you have a sales team that supports ARCONA, and they, really focus on those A doors, right? The A doors are really the ones that get a little bit more emphasis, so that it really does have the biggest impact. I think that, can you shed light on that? Because I know that our founders many of them are bootstrapping their brands. And so investing in a sales team or an educational team is a big leap for them. So if you could shed light on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does take a huge team of people, because you need to be able to be in stores either through freelance support, which is not cheap. And that you obviously are hiring people to go in to represent your brand and build upon the brand, or you have estheticians that are going in and doing facial treatments, or you're doing education with an educator, and there is people evolve at Nordstrom or department stores, or any of the retailers, where they may be in one position, and then the next time you see them, they've evolved and they've moved on to a different area of the store, or they're evolving into management. So it's really truly about never overpromising and underdelivering. It's really about building relationships, and I think really understanding what your goal is, in giving the right products, the right sampling to the customers as they're coming in, building relationships with their customers, which hopefully you're turning into yours as well, and understanding the other brands that are there, because people oftentimes are using different brands. There's so many good products out there, and I think the more you're aware of what's out in the industry, the better equipped you are to be able to share or sell a product that will be a nice complement to whatever other skincare brand that they're using. But yeah, I think having a sales team is really key, because it's not as simple as just a company placing an order and um, you not participating. It just probably is not going to work.
No, no, it definitely won't work. And how often is your team in stores?
And each door is different, because you'll have certain doors that just do huge volume, and you build upon that, and then those talented, amazing sales associates will move to another door or another position, and so you'll start to see other doors start to go up or evolve and grow. So it is really it's fun, and it's interesting because I I learned very early on in my career. I mean, you may meet somebody and they come in and they're an assistant to an assistant, and the next time you see them, they're running Paramount. I mean,
Right,
so
right,
it's
right.
it's
That
just
happens faster now than ever.
yeah. I mean, people just grow and evolve, and no matter what the industry is, and so I think it's so much about it. I guess my point is, I think it's so much about the relationships we create, we build, and we cultivate. And surrounding yourself with really good, talented, solid people, and having those check-ins with people that are going in representing your brand. Finding out what's working, what's not, setting goals. I think it comes down to really communication and communicating directly with your buyers to find out what their expectations and their goal is for your brand, what they would like to see you do, and not just assume that you may feel like you're doing really well, but it's a good idea to hear from the powers that be what their expectations are for your brand, and really have that goal.
Absolutely. And I want to put a pin in that for everyone who's listening. If you are partnering with a big box retailer or a small retailer, just knowing like what are their goals, specifically what are their numbers that they want you to hit, products sold every or units sold every single month, so that you can work towards achieving that goal. And what about, another thing that is exciting for Arcana? It is really a brand that was born from the spa. And so for that reason, it is a very great fit for other spas as well. And I know that's been a big strategy of late for Arcana to expand into spa doors.
Well, the origins of our brand really started with our skincare studio. And so, and all of us are licensed estheticians. And so we have a real love and a love fest for the industry and other estheticians. And so it's just been an amazing opportunity for us to build upon that. And so we have a whole professional range of products that we sell exclusively to licensed estheticians, spas, and resorts to really, be able to carry our treatments, and they're very results oriented and very customized. And so that's a really great medium and area to do business in, because estheticians are unique and are really oftentimes able to build a relationship with their customer, because they're with them oftentimes for at least 50 minutes to an hour. And people beyond the pampering, that we really want to see results. And so customers, love to have treatments, and will oftentimes buy the products accordingly to what the esthetician has recommended.
Absolutely. And how many spas are you in now?
I have to get back to you. I don't even know. We're careful. We like to align ourselves with people that it makes sense for us to work with. So there's a lot of solo estheticians. There's larger, spas and resorts that carry our brand. But the most important thing is just aligning yourself with people that want to succeed and thrive and do well with your brand. And are have kind of the same mindset, because I think so much of our successes really, really come down to our mindset. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with that now, and that's what well, I mean, I learned a lot with working with you, with the incredible questions that you would ask me, and I would really reflect a lot on those questions. But what I just have learned, you so much of our success is that mindset, and what it is we want to achieve, and what are the steps on the path that we're going to take to get there. So it's like an understanding, like you have a destination in mind, but you also have to be prepared that things have a way of changing in mid-flight. So it's always about being able to um, process and handle those shifts and changes, because you can lay it all out perfectly and it will be nothing like you planned, right? So it's all about how you handle those stressors and those challenging times, and it just makes everything all the sweeter and a little brighter on the other side once you get through it. But they're oftentimes in the moment you want to pull your hair out, but they oftentimes can be gifts. But I think it's all in how we approach it and look at things, and we're happier for that, or healthier for that.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about a, you know, a business, a brand that has been around for how long has brand been around officially?
Since the mid 90s.
Yeah, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it's been a while, but what I want to point out is like there's been so many economic shifts and of course, depressions, even recessions that the brand has gone through and then come out on the other side. So clearly there's strong leadership there and strong team to drive that forward. And you mentioned mindset, of course. Like, what would you say are some of those practices that you have as a founder to overcome some of those like challenges that I know our listeners probably have to deal with as well on a regular basis?
Well, I think it's carving out time for self-care and making sure that your health, your well-being, your mental hygiene, your sleep hygiene, your exercise, all those things factor into you showing up and being your best. And the making healthy choices for yourself, so you feel your best and you're working at your optimum level, right? And I think that it's surrounding yourself with people that have the same care and integrity and passion and talent. And you know, I think it's all about, we can never predict tomorrow, but we just do our best as things come up, and how we're going to work through them, and not becoming overwhelmed by things that we have no control over. So I think the best thing is to control what you can control, and I think it's okay to say you don't understand something, or you don't know how to do this, or to people, I think sometimes, especially in roles of when they're entrepreneurs or owners, or they have a fancy title, they're fearful to share with somebody that they don't understand something, or that they can't admit, and especially in front of a group of people. And I think if you can just be vulnerable and be open and learn, and reach out and connect with people that can support you in your journey and with your business, you're better off for it. Because I think people sense falseness, and I think that people sense when people are putting on a show or being, difficult. And I always think how much more each entrepreneur and business and leader and manager and CEO, or whatever the title is, or role of leadership, how much more they would get from people who they were kind to, and that they came alongside them and supported them in their journey. And instead of being difficult or cold or, standoffish, or we've met those kinds of leaders or those kinds of bosses.
Yes. And I love that you said, not knowing everything and allowing that vulnerability to be present so that other people's expertise can shine. and step in.
And yeah, I think it's really key. And I think also, keeping up of what's going on, reading, constantly evolving, learning and growing, and, connecting yourself with groups of like minded people. I mean, it's kind of lonely in what we do because not a lot of people fully understand what you do as an entrepreneur. And I think it's nice when you can connect with other people. And that's what I love about what you do is you have an incredible ability to connect people, and you have these wonderful groups of people that come together and support one another. And what I've always admired too about you, Aggie, is you're always evolving, always learning, and you share just wonderful uh, information and tidbits of how to live your best life.
Oh, thank you. I'm a forever learner. And growth is my biggest value. So it's like, if you can do that, I think it's interesting because if someone's value is growth, and in your case, I think one of the biggest assets that you have is adaptability and being able to adapt to the situations that are happening and around you. And that's so critical for any entrepreneur. Like if you can handle things going sideways or differently than you planned it, you're going to have a really hard time being an entrepreneur. So, but anyways, I think growth is forever. Like if you're growing, you're constantly learning, right?
Absolutely. And I think when we elevate ourselves and we grow and evolve, it we just naturally share that and provide that to other people. And I think you attract and draw to you like-minded people. And it's not competitive, and um, it's not working from a place of scarcity or fear, or a place of feeling threatened by someone else's successes.
Absolutely. And I think, even just the example of Nordstrom's and there's, so many different brands that are, in Nordstrom's that might be maybe bigger and have, immense funding. And yet I know Arcona is always a top seller.
Thank you. Well, I think you just have to show up and be you and not get too caught up in the comparison game. I think it's important to be aware of what's out there, and you can learn a lot from these brands that have done really, really well. It's never a desire on my part, or I don't think it should be the desire of anyone to try to copy or emulate them, but you can learn from them. There's so many strengths from a lot of these brands that we can learn from in terms of, all the things that they do to create their success.
Mm. So on the flip side, what are those watershed moments for you, Chanel? Like those, like, I can't believe we did this. Like, give us the biggest wins that really have a place in your heart.
Oh, there's so many. The incredible love and the letters and feedback and compliments that I personally have received in our brand, and my colleagues have received from different accounts that carry our brand, customers, clients, distributors, buyers, people who have come alongside and supported us. And that is an incredible compliment. And, as a small brand, to receive the awards that you mentioned was a huge, exciting time in our lives, to have the recognition from these major magazines like Allure and New Beauty. I was really honored with that. And just the incredible clients that I have, to work alongside with people like you that have been so supportive and helpful and insightful. And I think there's certainly been pinch me moments where I'm like, I can't believe I just worked on that person. Or, I'm so happy with how, I think a pinch me moment, well, certainly Diane Lane, because I was a huge fan of hers and she's just so lovely inside and out. But when the first time I worked with Julia Roberts, because I remember going to the movie theater, in the old days when you go to the movie theater, and I remember I was so young and watching Pretty Woman, and I loved her, and I loved that movie, and it was really wonderful to meet and work with her, and work with her for so many years, and but in that moment I was like, oh wow. She was just so sweet and down to earth and so genuine and authentic, and I feel very, yeah, I feel that maybe we just naturally attract people that you know, I think we draw certain kinds of energy and people into our life that make more sense for us and who we are as people, hopefully. Um, and so there's been so many pinch me moments and so many moments where I feel super fortunate. And I each day I really start to work from a place of being grateful of all the things and people that are in my life that I'm grateful for. And I think if we can work from that place, it seems like the universe, there's a ricochet effect.
Absolutely. And when you need a reset, it's like going back to that. I know you and I have talked about this a lot, but going back to that gratitude practice and gratitude list, whatever your process is. And it just makes your day that much better. And then when you do that every day, it just builds on itself.
I have these great cards that you and I were having a meeting, and you gave me all these incredible affirmations. And they were just totally, I was just writing them down. They were just coming out of you, this free flowing. And I was writing them all down. And I still look at those cards to this day. And they're so helpful. They're so supportive. And it kind of just brings you back to center, especially when you're having a stressful day or a stressful moment. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell our audience, what advice would you give to other beauty, health, wellness entrepreneurs, who are maybe looking to either launch their business or grow their business? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think what I would say is stay true to who you are and your philosophy and the core principles about what makes your product or products unique and special. I think always keeping an open mind and heart to learning and growing and evolving, and try your very best not to get into the comparison game, because it's very easy to do that. I think as a human being, we all are oftentimes comparing ourselves to other people and other brands and other people's successes, and try your best not to. And it's a lot of work, and you have to be really committed to that. And you can't just turn it all over to anybody else. It ultimately does fall on you. And so I think it's understanding your vision, and if they're fortunate, they get to work with you, and they can, begin the process of outlining what their short-term and long-term goals are with their brand. And it's okay to do it slow and steady. It's like that slow and steady wins the race. I think there's a lot of truth to that, because sometimes something can go viral and go super popular for today, and then it just kind of falls short. And I won't name any of those particular brands or products, but I've seen it. We all have.
I mean, obviously, you've seen so many brands launch and so many brands die too. And yeah.
I think slow and steady wins the race, and having a strong work ethic and surrounding yourself with really good people, and not trying to have too many things all at one time going, kind of reining it in. And being able to, once you've launched something or you've accomplished something, is to step back objectively and look at that and find out what worked well, what didn't, or, because there's a lot of layers to it.
Yes, absolutely. And I love what you said about like brands going viral or products going viral, because I think everyone wants the quick win, the quick run, the quick scaling to the top of the mountain, the viral content. And because that's what you read about in the media, and that's what's spotlighted. And it's great that like there's media talking about those wins, but there's so much nuance to it, like you said. And I do agree with you that it is really the brands that I see that stick around for a long time and build that legacy are the brands that have patience and that are slow and steady. And like maybe there are some bumps here and there, like spikes, but they have that long-term view of the business.
Absolutely. No doubt. And there'll always be like a product that you would never in your wildest dreams think it would be the product that will really take off, and that will be the one that will be your hero product.
Right.
You're building upon that. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this other product is so incredible. Why didn't it resonate? But there is no rhyme or reason. Oftentimes it's so many factors that in terms of how and when it was launched, what kind of marketing was behind it, whose hands it got into, how it was, shared with people. And so there's a lot to be learned, and I think it's nice to have people such as yourself to be able to reach to do outreach to see, get their feedback on how they thought you did in terms of the launch, or putting it all out there and getting it in people's hands.
Absolutely. So what's in store for Arcona? Like, give us the sneak peek of the future of Arcona. What's coming up for?
Well, we have some products that we're going to be launching. We're really excited about, but we want to continue just to grow and evolve our existing business and stay really true to that. Sometimes it's always about growing, and getting more new accounts and new customers. Sometimes it's really just about taking care of what's right in front of you and what you already have, and being the best with that, and building maybe, and it's not, I don't know that it's always better to be in something bigger. I think it's really just about being where it best suits your brand and your needs and what you're capable of growing and evolving, in that channel of distribution. And then you build upon that.
Absolutely. So just squeezing the juice out of the things you already have, not trying to expand too wide too quickly. Can you give us a sneak peek as to what this new product that you might be launching down the road? Can you give us a sneak peek of what it could be?
Yes, it's a brightening cream that is really incredible. It has a whole slew of different actives, not only anti-inflammatories, but ingredients that really support cell regeneration and really help to target, concerns with melasma, hyperpigmentation, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation for people who maybe have had breakouts in the past. So something that's really going to target and just give an overall evenness and glow to the skin, and really support cell regeneration and cell renewal. So it's a really lovely, lovely cream. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Anything brightening is like, I love that.
Yes, me too. I'm a big fan of it.
So how can people find Arcona, discover Arcona? Tell us how everyone can find you.
Yeah, well, on Instagram, it's Arcona, ARCONA, Los Angeles, and arcona.com is our website. And Jenae is my name, but that's how you can find us.
Okay. And if you search the brand, you'll find tons and tons of media and celebrities that have used the product, used the brand. So, just putting the brand name into Google, you'll be like, okay, this is great. So thank you, Jenae. Thank you for joining me here today, and sharing your story and sharing kind of the behind the scenes, what's brought Arcona to where it is now. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really, really nice to see you and connect with you. And I so appreciate all your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening. And until the next episode, we're out for now. Bye, everyone.